Hey friends, it's Granny Doll here. I'm trying to get my cushion straight. I haven't done a live stream in a while, and today this is about our midway point in the 100-mile challenge. So, welcome. Guess what? You all know what this is, right? It's a relatively chunky eggplant, local, right? I'm going to try to make a ratatouille. I have lots of tomatoes. I have some zucchini I can cut up. I have fresh onions, local onions. So that's going to be part of this. Let me just put that down. But welcome to day 15. So, show and tell. If you have anything that you would like to share, please drop it in the chat. The other thing I wanted to show you was this. I am fermenting these really big, I could say they're cherry tomatoes, but they're a little bigger than cherry tomatoes. So it's just salt and water and tomatoes and a pickle thing so that the air can circulate. Local. These are things that you can do where you live, right? Have you ever tried to do anything like that? So I have some notes here. I'm going to go through some things, and then if you're here and you want to chime in, just put something in the chat and I'll try to keep up. So just a really quick question for you. If you had to choose to source one thing locally today, would it be bread or cheese? Which would you pick and why? Now, I'm not a big cheese person, but I know I could get local cheese if I wanted it. Bread, I can get local bread. And I can make bread, and that's pretty local for me. So, yeah, we can do all of that, but yeah, let's just see what happens. Think back possibly to grandparents or great grandparents, and did they practice something close to 100 miles? So, if you go back far enough, of course, nobody traveled more than 100 miles or 120 kilometers. They wouldn't even call it that. This was just living. It wasn't even local living. It was just plain living. So if you could design your own perfect 100-mile life plan, but take a breath. Let's just think about this for a minute. What's one small cozy ritual in your day, like tea time or knitting or a walk, that makes you feel slower and more rooted? So for those of you who don't know, I'm still playing with my cushion here. I'm Doll from Doll Can Create, and I'm also known as Granny Doll. And I'm all about the granny core. Like, let's get that aesthetic in here. So you can see my crocheted wall hanging that's supposed to be a blanket slash a shawl slash whatever it is when I finish it, but it's still hanging there and it's been there for a while now. But I like it. I like it there. That's kind of a granny thing, to have a crocheted blanket on the couch or a hand done cushion on a special chair, right? So that's who I am. And I'd also like to know where you're watching. Where are you in the world? Where are you watching from right now? Let me know in the chat and we can all kind of get this together. But yeah, what do you like to do to slow down? And I know for me, it's picking up my knitting or my spinning. So I'm working on this one row scarf that I showed, I think, last week, and it's gotten a little bit bigger. This is hand spun on my spindle, and I'm going to have to start spinning some more because I'm almost out. But this is a lovely yarn, gifted or fiber gifted to me. It's a merino, and it's wonderful to work with. And these are, to me, it started out to be more fall colors, but with the amount of pink in it, sometimes I think it's a spring color. But it's just part of how I slow down. So on top of that, I also have my sock, and I've been showing the sock a lot. Sock a lot. I like that. Right. So this is hand dyed with grape Kool-Aid. Grape Kool-Aid is not 100 Mile. I do know this. But I like grape Kool-Aid. I like the smell. I don't drink it. Oh my gosh, no. No, 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 no. But I like the color fastness of it. So that's why I use that. So if you could design your own perfect 100-mile marketplace, what would be on the shelves? That's a really good question, isn't it? What would be on your shelves? And in your community, what would you grow? What would you make? And what would you create? So, in our little property here, we're renting a basement apartment. We do have a little bit of space in the backyard. And Nick planted potatoes in a raised bed and some in a broken down big blue recycle box. And we got some itty bitty tiny red potatoes from that. And I think I suggested to him that he wait to dig them up. So definitely digging potatoes a little bit later. And I think in my own community, we do have a farmer who grew zucchini that he shared and has shared with us rhubarb a couple of times. But now we're getting into the actual harvest season. So in my make believe community, we would have more fruit trees available. They're easy to get here. There's apple orchards everywhere. So that's not really a big deal. And I would have a better garden. I would do something to make the garden a little bit more prolific, bigger, easier to work on. I have a raised bed, but it was infested with ants, and anyway, they're gone now. I don't know what I did to them, but they're gone. So maybe next year it'll be better for me. Who knows? But we're talking a lot about food and fiber. But let's just not get ahead of ourselves too much. If you were a fiber person, what one project could you create that would tell the story of your life? Like a blanket in your community's colors, or maybe a recipe book of local flavors. And if so, what would it be? Those are kind of great questions, aren't they? What would they be? So locally, I would think recipes that include apples, peaches, maple syrup, um, local meats, roast, pork, beef, chicken, corn, green beans, yellow beans, whatever. There's so much that we can dive into, right? So we are officially halfway through. I wonder what's the biggest surprise for you? And just think about that for a few minutes. I think the biggest surprise for me, and it shouldn't be a surprise, is that there's a lot of foods that I enjoy that are not local. Some of them are dietary must haves, like bananas and oranges, lemons, those kinds of things. Things that I don't really need, like chocolate, although some would say I need chocolate. That's right, part of what I need. So when I look at the breakdown of the family budget and the breakdown of where the money's going, right, in that budget, how much of the foods are actually local, how much is needed, how much is necessary, and how much is not. So there's been a couple of little surprises in there. And have you actually started thinking about that 100-mile radius or that 120-kilometer radius since we began? So drop your location in the chat. Let's just see where everybody is. And if you have, what's one resource that you found that you didn't know about before? Let's share those ideas. I think our pantries, if we've been following along from day one, probably do look a little bit different now than they might have looked earlier. Maybe. I'm more determined to work with local fibers as far as my crafting goes. I am more determined in finding my local meat, my local protein sources. A lot of the other food sources I already knew about. So that wasn't really a big surprise, and it wasn't something I had to worry about so much. But, and has the community around you been part of this at all? Have you told your family? Have you told your friends? Or is it something you're doing and at the end then you'll share? Because sometimes we need to do that too. Finding staples, I think, are the tricky things. Like when we think of pasta and rice, that's not something we're going to be able to get locally here. Potatoes, definitely. Carrots, yes. Many vegetables, yes. But the starches and those things that I don't like as much as potatoes, though. So things like rice of any kind. I know there is some Canadian wild rice from Manitoba, but that's more than the 100. Yeah. And pasta, there's Canadian produced pasta, but where's it produced? And if it's produced in Canada, it's probably Canadian wheat, so, or Canadian grains. So I think those are probably the more difficult things to find when we're looking at condiments, jams, jellies, sauces, salad dressings, mayonnaise, even spices. Spices don't grow locally. We could get herbs local for sure. But as we head into the second half, what's the one question you have about sustainable living? So, sourcing locally or building a creative, slower life that maybe I can answer. And if I don't know an answer, I can search and help you find an answer. I'd love to help you out. I really would. So, this or that. Well, we did that. A crazy, cozy moment, right? What's your beverage of choice today? Tea? Coffee? Is the coffee roasted locally? Is your tea an herbal tea where you dried the herbs from your yard? That's a really good question, too. And if you're creating something, whether it's some English paper piecing or spinning or knitting or crocheting, is the fiber you're using from local farms or local dyers? Is the English paper piecing from thrifted fabrics? Because I am determined to not purchase fabric at this point in my life and just use what's here. So either what's been thrifted, what's been gifted to me. I have lots of bits and pieces that I can work with. So, that part of things can really help the family budget, can't they? And if I only use what's in the house, then I'm fine. We're all kind of concerned about tariffs from this country and that country and what Canadians can ship where. But the truth is, if we all used our stash, I think we'd be fine. At least many of us would be fine. May not have exactly what we want, not the right color, not the right density, Who knows? And as far as the food goes, what can we exchange for those food items that have to travel for thousands of miles to get to our table? Something to think about. Something to think about. Well, I'm glad that you dropped in today. I hope that this journey continues for you. This is, like I said, it's day 15 of a 30-day, 100-mile life journey challenge. And I'm so glad you're on it with me. I hope you have a great and blessed day. Keep stitching, keep sourcing, keep feeling those blessings. Until next time, this is Granny Doll. Doll can create, you can too. We'll see you next time.